I never thought I'd fall in love with a married woman. It wasn't supposed to happen. We were coworkers, casual conversations, shared projects, quick lunches. But somewhere between laughter and late night talks, something changed. When she told me her husband was sick, I didn't judge her. I just listened. She said she felt invisible, like her life had turned into caretaking in silence. I thought I was helping her, giving her a place to breathe again. I never imagined how far it would go, or that a man would end his life because of it. Now, months later, everyone calls her a monster. Some call me worse. But no one asks me what it's like to love someone whose story has already been written as the villain and the homewrecker. This is my side, the one nobody wanted to hear. The first time I saw her, she looked tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from a long day, but the kind that settles deep inside your eyes when you've been carrying too much for too long. She worked in accounting, 2 desks away from mine. Always polite, always focused, never part of the office gossip. We started talking during a late deadline one evening. The office was nearly empty, and she stayed behind to finish reports. I offered to help, mostly as an excuse to talk. She smiled. The kind of small, polite smile that hides exhaustion. We talked about everything but work. Movies, travel, food, little things that didn't really matter but felt like fresh air. After that night, we started having lunch together. She told me about her husband, how he used to be full of life before he got sick, how she missed the sound of laughter in their house, how she felt like she was living with a stranger she couldn't reach anymore. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. It felt good to be needed, to be trusted. She said I made her feel seen again. That's how it began, not with passion or lust, but with sympathy and small comforts that turned into something else. I told myself I was helping her, that I was reminding her that life still had warmth left in it. But in reality, I was falling for her. And she was slipping away from everything she'd once promised to hold on to. Looking back, maybe I should have stopped it. Maybe I should have told her to go home. But I didn't. Because when she smiled at me, I forgot that someone else was paying the price for it. We didn't plan for it to become an affair. It just happened. Slowly, quietly, like a line we didn't realize we had crossed until we were too far on the other side to go back. At first, it was just coffee breaks and long conversations after work. Then, one night, she cried in the parking lot. She said her husband was getting worse, that every day felt like another goodbye. I didn't know what to do, so I hugged her. It wasn't meant to be anything more, but that one hug changed everything. After that, we started meeting outside of work. Dinner, walks, then weekends. Every moment with her felt stolen. Not just from her husband, but from the version of myself I thought I was. I told myself I was different, that I wasn't the kind of man who broke marriages. But the truth is, I wanted her too much to care. She would talk about how guilty she felt, how she didn't recognize herself anymore. And I would tell her she deserved to be happy, that she wasn't doing anything wrong by needing something more than pain and responsibility. I said all the things she needed to hear, even when I didn't fully believe them. The first time we kissed, it didn't feel like cheating. It felt like relief, like both of us were finally breathing after years underwater. But afterward, she cried, and that should have been my sign to stop. Instead, I told her it was okay, that we'd figure it out, that love couldn't be wrong if it felt that real. We kept lying to ourselves, pretending it was temporary, that it would all make sense someday. But there's no version of this story where everyone walks away untouched. Someone always gets hurt. I just didn't realize how deep those wounds would go, or that one of them would be fatal. The day I found out he was gone, everything inside me stopped. She called me, her voice barely above a whisper. "He's dead," she said. At first, I thought I'd misheard her. Then she started crying, that kind of deep, broken sound that doesn't even sound human. I didn't know what to say. All I could manage was, "What happened?" She told me he had taken his own life. The words hit me like a punch to the chest. My mind went blank, then filled with a noise I can't describe. Guilt, shock, disbelief, all crashing together. That night, she didn't sleep. Neither did I. She kept saying, "It's my fault. I killed him." And I kept lying, saying, "No, you didn't." But deep down, I wasn't sure anymore. Because if she hadn't met me, if I hadn't encouraged her to keep seeing me, maybe he'd still be alive. The funeral was the worst day of my life, and I didn't even go. She begged me to stay away, said it would make things worse. I agreed, even though it felt like I was hiding from the truth. I stayed home and watched the clock tick, imagining every word, every look, every whisper being thrown her way. She went alone, and when she came back, she was empty. Like the part of her that used to glow had finally gone dark. After that, everything between us changed. She moved in with me a few months later, but it wasn't the same. We used to talk about everything. Now we barely spoke. Her silence was heavy, like she was somewhere else even when she was sitting right next to me. I'd reach for her hand and she'd flinch. Sometimes she'd wake up crying, saying his name in her sleep. I wanted to help her, but I didn't know how. How do you comfort someone when you're part of the reason they're in pain? I thought love could heal, but this kind of love only reminded us both of what it cost. Every time I look at her, I see the man whose place I took, and the shadow of the life that ended so mine could begin. It's been almost a year now, but the guilt hasn't faded. She's still with me, at least physically, but it feels like we're both living with ghosts. Her husband's shadow is everywhere. In her silence, in the way she stares at nothing when she thinks I'm not looking, in the way she says his name in her sleep. Sometimes I think she hates me for still being here. Other times I think she needs me just to remind herself she's still alive. Maybe both are true. People online call me a homewrecker, a monster. And maybe they're right. I loved a woman who wasn't mine to love, and a man died because of it. There's no way to soften that truth. I've thought about leaving, about walking away so she could rebuild her life without the reminder of what happened. But every time I try, she holds on tighter. She says, "You're all I have left," and I can't bring myself to be another person who abandons her. Still, I know I'll never have her completely. No matter how much time passes, part of her will always belong to him, to the man whose pain made room for me. I used to believe love could fix anything. Now I know some love stories begin in the ashes of someone else's tragedy, and those kinds of stories don't have happy endings. They just keep going. So when people ask if I regret it, I never know how to answer. Because yes, I regret what it cost. But no, I can't regret loving her. Even if every time she looks at me, I'm reminded of the life we stole just to be together.